7, 8. Is it recording? I think it
Yeah, it's
is.
recording. Yeah.
All right, we are live. Welcome to the podcast 7-8, a social dance community exploration. And today we have the lovely Ellen Gates with us. Welcome.
Hello, it's so good to be here.
Yes. All right, really good to be in your home.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I never. Oh, there's so much dust going on right now. Okay. Um. Okay. So this podcast is about kind of the social dynamics between social dancers, competitive dancers, all those relating to basically my industry.
Mhm.
And the topic of today is the differences and the dynamics of social dancers versus competitive dancers, specific or well-trained dancers, performer dancers, those who put a lot of time and effort and training into it versus those who just do it more as a hobby. And I have found that there has actually been quite a bit of animosity between the two groups, and it's something that we don't really talk about. And I'm interested in kind of
Don't.
exploring that. So, and I thought you would be a great person to go to talk to because I think you start out as a social dancer, as most of us
I
do. Okay.
did.
And then you progressed more into kind of, I don't know if you competed a little bit or did you started teaching a lot?
Yeah, I have not officially been in a competition, but I have performed and I'm on a performance team actively. And then I have more recently branched into the dance teaching um, genre. So I definitely think I've gone from a social dancing where it's a hobby to more like I am very intentional and actively pursuing progressing my dance journey and my level of dance. So I wouldn't consider myself just really a social dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Okay. Good. So that's a good place to start off from. So I think the best place to go is to actually
What is the difference between a social dancer and a competitive dancer? Well, let's start with you. Like, what is your definition of a social dancer versus competitive dancer?
mm, So my definition of a social dancer is someone who uses dance to socially interact. That's what basically their means. They primarily there to hang out with their friends, to have fun on a Saturday or Friday or whatever night they're going out, and it's a means of entertainment. A competitive dancer or performer is one who sees it as more of a serious hobby, who takes the dance, puts a lot more time and a lot more effort into the actual dance, um, and is trying to get to a certain level of either perfection or competency. Um, how they learn is probably the same. I believe really the only difference in training between a social dancer and a competitive dancer is there's a number on their back or somebody's watching you, but that affects greatly how you're going to approach the training to the dancing.
Yes, it does. I would agree with that assessment. I think there are definitely different levels within each camp.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Social dancing, like yeah, like you said, it's just going out. It's a social activity to hang out with people. Can have many different uses for people, whether they're just looking for company or they're looking for physical interaction or it's a physical activity or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Whereas a performer or competitive dancer, I think there's a shift in mindset and mentality that they're much more intentional and focused about their progression of they are taking active steps where they're looking to learn at a higher level or to take whether they start private classes. And not to say that social dancers don't take private lessons, but there's just a different mindset around being incredibly intentional in your progression versus if you're a social dancer, and you feel you dance well enough, you may be comfortable with just staying at that level, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A friend of mine once said that dancing is a unique activity, is where everybody involved in the event is a participant in an active art creator. So if you go like think of music and going to a concert, the people who are actively creating in that are the artists, are the ones singing up there. Okay, they're the ones actively creating, and everyone's enjoying that. But for dancing, everyone's going there to dance and everyone's participating to dance. The DJs aren't actually creating music; they're just playing songs that everyone likes. Um, and the competitors, the ones that we see, the performers, the social dancers are still doing the same thing that they're doing, just at not at a high competent level. So there is always going to be effort put into it. It's just like the differences between a competitor, I think a competitor or a performer, is trying to create something that wouldn't be achieved just by normal means.
Yes, or be created by just passive
Mhm.
interest. It's not passive. It's an active interest and mindset, whereas maybe a social dancer is more of like a passive like interest of like maybe they'll go out dancing, or maybe they'll go drinking with friends, or maybe they'll go to trivia night,
Yeah,
or go do, it's not something that's like a compulsive thing where
we
like
have to train.
you have to train, or you would pick dancing above all else.
Yeah. And the other way I like to think about it is it's a sport. Um,
Yeah.
the sport. There are people who are better than us. We need to get better at them, and if we don't train, they're going to get better than us. So
Yeah.
we have to keep going.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Totally hear that.
yeah. Okay. And so with those two I think are we kind of do we think we have a good definition between the
Yeah,
two?
I think that's, yeah, we agree on that.
So I made a post a couple weeks ago saying that asking about like is there an anonymity between the two, and I got a lot of responses and a lot of DMs.
Mhm.
Um, Mostly people telling me about like how the other side is like a bunch of not so very nice people. Either they're very snobby or they're needy or like they just don't understand what the other thing is. Like I didn't know there's actually a lot of like the two camps really have a lot to say about the other
Of
two
course they
together.
do.
And I'm in a unique position because I'm a teacher, and I mainly live off,
And you're a competitive dancer.
and I'm a competitive dancer.
Yes.
So I consider myself firmly in the category of both. Um, I,
Really?
yes,
That's so
because I
interesting.
because I dance for fun, and if there's something going on, I'll go out there and just kind of hang out. But
But
I'm
yeah, but I feel like you can be a competitive or performer dancer, and you can still have instances to dance just for fun and not like you're not intentional in that journey.
mhm,
I think what makes you a competitive or performer dancer is the overall mindset of like your dance journey in general. Because there's not saying that like dance teachers or performers or people that go to festivals religiously or teach at festivals, there are times I'm sure they like put aside, I'm not going dancing with a purpose. I'm just going dancing to have fun or hang out with my friends or go be social. And this is going to be fun. But I don't wouldn't necessarily switch them to the social dancing like camp
mhm.
specifically for that instance, because I think it's an overarching mindset of their overall dance journey. Now, what I find interesting as a dance teacher that applies to you and applies to me is you're teaching both camps of people where you're teaching people who may be just social dancing and they're just looking to get a little bit more knowledge so that they can be a better social dancer and they can have more fun. And that's the only goal. Whereas you're also teaching people that maybe are actively wanting to progress, to get better, to potentially perform or be competitive or just progressing in their dance journey and being intentional. So that's what I find interesting about your aspect.
Hmm. Um, yeah. Can we pause this for 1 second?
Do I need to repeat what I just said?
It won't feel genuine. We just had some amazing like
Yeah, I just had an
insight.
amazing line and whatever. Okay,
It's
fine.
great, and like all greatest things in history, it wasn't recorded. So
Never on record.
yeah, so it's pity you guys missed out on the best thing ever.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Would you agree with that assessment?
I would absolutely 100% agree with that
Yeah.
assessment.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but I do know like competitive dancers who become who are no longer they stopped competing. They don't compete anymore. They stopped it, and the skills kind of start to go down a little bit, and they become
I
more
think at that
social
point, would
dancers.
you consider that like kind of a retirement where someone decides to take a step back and it's not like the priority or they're not being as intentional about it in their life? And
Yeah.
like it's still an interest, it's still a passion, it's still something that I like to do, but like priorities have shifted where maybe that's not the focus any longer.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So
Okay.
where do you think is like this animosity, the general animosity that comes from you saying that you had got all these messages where there's these two different like viewpoints in each camp, each dance culture, each group seems to
Uh-huh.
be kind of like pointing the finger at the other um group and they are, not very happy with the other group. I don't know what to call it. People, culture, populace, but I don't know what to call it.
I'll just stick with groups for a night now. I think seems the easiest. Okay. So I got um it was mainly the social dancers who messaged me, but I got some competitors as well. And the social dancers, the main gripe with they have with competitive dancers is that they are snobby and off-putting, cold. They don't make you really feel welcome, and they make you feel like shit.
Okay.
I got a whole bunch of stories about this time when they would go to somebody and they asked them to dance, and the person would kind of look them up and down, and then it's like, okay, I'll dance with you, but you have to understand this is the vibe they're giving, that I'm doing you a favor by
Mm.
gracing you with my presence, and you have no idea how many hours of training I put into this, and to give you a person who's given like what 2 minutes of time, huh, such an honor for you. Let's do your little step. That's the vibe that they kind of got, and it didn't really feel good.
I
Um,
mean, I can understand from experiences um where that might be that's definitely something that I've come in contact with. I do wonder how much of this interaction, because I'm sure there are people that probably do actively put off that vibe and they probably do think that way. But I also wonder how much of it is a perception within our own mind of like that um we feel a certain way. We feel when maybe we're not, we know we're a social dancer and we know we're not necessarily up to par and we have our own insecurities
mhm.
about how we are in this space.
We're moving.
I know I gotta charge my phone or charge
Okay.
my charge my laptop. Um, so I just wonder how much of it is. I'm not saying it doesn't happen and it's not an active feeling where this person might be putting out this vibe.
Mhm.
Uh, But I also wonder how much of it is our own insecurities within our own mind and our own perception of like what we think this person is thinking or looking down on us.
I think it would depend upon person to person. I know
Oh,
that I generally get that feeling when I'm asking a person who is a higher level than me in dancing. Like I get the insecurities feelings, but I always attribute it to myself. Like this is all my fault, my problem. I have no idea what they're really feeling. They may actually really enjoy dancing with me, but because they're a champion level dancer, they can't possibly. But that's I put that all upon me. And the complaints that I got from social dancers is just that um, they felt that every the point of social dancing or going to a dance is to dance with people and to have fun with many people, and they felt that the competitive dancers, the good dancers, are very exclusive. And so they only really want to dance with their friends, or that you're a higher level, or if you're young and beautiful, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
I
there's like,
don't I honestly don't think Young and Beautiful, even cuts it sometimes because
yeah.
you could be attractive, in my opinion, and then I could dance with you, and then I'd be like, "You're a terrible dancer. You cannot stay on time or on beat." And I'm like, "Well, that's done." Like,
I think it's different if you're a follow. I think that
yes,
traditionally,
that could make sense. Yeah, if you're a
yeah,
lead,
yeah,
you
I
lead them
think
well, then
yeah, it doesn't really make a difference for me at this point because if like we're stepping like my attraction like if we're dancing and suddenly you're off time, suddenly oh no, you're not attractive anymore, unfortunately. It's a really bad thing. My grandfather told me like the more things you get good at in life, the less options you're going to have as terms of a potential mate. So
yeah,
so like he became really good at drums, and then from then on, if the person didn't know how to kind of keep tempo, he just couldn't stand it.
yeah,
He started learning how to talk and be a comedian and kind of give good speeches and articulate his words. And then from then on, unless the person could be well spoken, they weren't attractive. And then he took a whole bunch of psychology classes too, and then understood how people's minds work. And unless the person could really understand how people's minds work, then they weren't attractive anymore.
mhm, yeah.
Um,
I agree with that. It's so going back to this gripe
yeah.
that a lot of social dancers seem to have with the competitive dance community,
Mhm.
um, I don't think it's invalidated. I think there are definitely competitive or performer dancers that do actively give off this vibe and they have this
Certainly.
mindset that they think they're better. I mean, I know for a fact there are dancers that think this way and that act this way.
I'm
And I
better than you.
yeah, that I've definitely come in contact with those people. I definitely know that it's like it's not all dancers, it's not all competitive dancers and performer dancers, and it's definitely intimidating as a any type of dancer, whether it's social or competitive, that you might not be quite at that level of someone, and you ask them to dance, or you're dancing with somebody that you know is a higher level.
Mhm.
um, it's definitely intimidating, and it kind of messes with your mind when you're thinking of like, oh, do they hate dancing with me? Are they frustrated? Like, especially as a follow, when you're dancing with a lead that, like, throws out a bunch of, like, high level, advanced level moves, and you're kinda fumbling through them, or you're,
Mm.
like, rushing to catch up to try to keep up with them and this is bad leading in general, is
Yeah.
my opinion. When the lead is not adjusting, and like if they throw out a move and they don't see that you're not the follow is not quite getting it,
Mhm.
or the follow is doing something and the lead, like she's doing her styling thing and she's not paying attention to the lead is not quite keeping up with something,
Mhm.
and she's not adjusting to him. I think that's just poor dancing, partner dancing in general. And so dancing with those kind of people that do not adjust, it's super intimidating, and you get in your head and you feel crappy because whether you're a social dancer or a competitive dancer, you feel a certain way about like, wow, this person is so good. They must be so bored dancing. And
Y-
I was like,
Yeah. I would think that that exists within each party. Like
oh, for sure. Yeah.
yeah, and also just because you're competitive or a performer dancer does not mean you're a good dancer or
No,
a good
no,
lead, or just because you're a great dancer does not mean you're a good lead or a good follow.
no.
So there's like a lot of multiple nuance
Yes, there's
forms.
multiple different facets to that of what makes a good dancer, whether you're a social or competitive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's so the animosity from the social dancers is primarily that the if I were to sum it up,
That's
is that they competitive dancers create
kind of an
a
elitist.
yeah, they form cliques, an
Mhm.
elitist clique and a vibe of exclusion, and it makes some people not really want to go out or create it
So
destroys the social.
from a competitive performer dancer viewpoint, why do you think that is, and do you think that will ever change?
Why?
Why do
Do
you think that naturally that happens?
I think when you spend more time with people and you guys have a similar goal or similar activity, you're going to gravitate to those people more. So, for example, if your group has gone to 3 competitions together, and say there's a group of 5 people who do that, okay, those people are naturally going to want to or going to keep wanting to hang around with each other because they know each other, they're friends. Versus someone that you meet like once a week and dance once in a while, you don't have the shared experiences. Also, and do I think it's going to change? No. I think this is human nature. I think that cliques form um,
I think
in
that
every
has
single
in
group.
every culture and every
Eh,
society. I think that it's not just dance culture.
yeah, it's I think yeah, it's human nature. Like there are cliques that form in family households, and they're just shared experiences where you want to join with.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so I think it's absolutely natural. I think we can probably, if there's an awareness of not wanting to be as cold as some people can say it to be, this idea that we're all grateful to be here, like we can have probably more friendly culture. But there's always going to be people you're going to want to dance with your friends, and you're going to want to dance with people who are going to be making you feel good.
Mhm.
And
And I think from a follower's perspective, just to expand on that, it's like I only have so many hours and so many limited dances within the social space that I'm at. And if I have really good dance chemistry and camaraderie with certain people that I know for the most part, it's going to be a really good dance. I'm going to feel comfortable. They're not going to be overly aggressive or going to push me or hurt me. Of course, I'm going to like gravitate towards someone that
mhm.
I know I can be comfortable with and I can freestyle and I can do my thing. And I'm going to be safe and okay. And I'm going to make the most out of my social dancing, going out and for a night of dancing experience versus there are times where, yeah, I'll take a chance on a bunch of different people, new people, but, if it's a song that I really love and I'm like, "This is one of my favorite songs," I'm gonna be like, "Okay, who's a friend of mine that I can dance with? I'm gonna dance my heart out to this."
Mhm.
And, so it's just natural to gravitate toward people that you've connected with dance-wise, as that you have dance chemistry and that you're just like, we vibe really well. And
Yeah.
I can read you. You make it super easy for me to follow or super easy to lead you. And it's predictable. It's natural for you to want to gravitate toward those people.
So do you have you sensed in your dance life experience the animosity between the social dancers versus the or like what do you think the point of view from the social dancers would be in this?
Point of view from a social dancer, like if I
Yeah,
was to do this behavior.
yeah. Do you feel that what do you feel what the social dancers gripe with the competitive dancers would be?
In my experience, in my dance journey, as I was on my dance journey, I was becoming more selective
Mhm.
um, in dance preferences, especially at festivals where there's a higher number of new people, people you've never danced with, not your normal dance home scene. And I got more and more selective where, if you dance 4 or 5 hours in a night and your feet are tired, your back is tired, your hands are hurting from leads squeezing your fingers, you have a lower tolerance for just crappy leading or crappy dancing. And I definitely probably put out that vibe where it may be perceived by a social dancer,
Mhm.
someone who's, working toward being a competitive dancer. I don't know their level, but I just have a lower tolerance or I'm just not in a good space to be open to trying someone new. And I'm just like, no, thank you. Or I'm whether I cut a dance short or I'm whatever it is, I'm sure I have gotten guys who are incredibly cold or brush it off or just and very not I wouldn't say aggressive, but they're extremely like put off by my being putting up boundaries and just being like, no, like I just can't do this. Like this is I'm
Mhm.
just too much pain, or it's just not worth it to me.
Mhm.
Mm. So I guess go back to the question of like, what do you think the question was, what do you think their viewpoint is?
Yeah. Um, Actually, I think that's a good segue into actually the reverse of that, the gripe that competitive dancers would have with social dancers.
I think, yeah, because I've definitely experienced what the social dancers are talking about. And I think I
Mhm.
even still experience it as a competitive dancer with much higher level or people that perceive themselves as higher level.
That
And they think
ego.
they're great dancers and too good to dance with me or whatever. But as a competitive dancer, um, there is a lot that my body goes through as a follow and as a dancer. And because I am being incredibly intentional and I put in a lot more hours than most social dancers, and I'm actively pursuing that, my body is put through a lot. And
Mhm.
so, um, social dancers who think that we're being snooty or snobby or being extra selective or being a bitch because we're not dancing with every single person. I get frustrated because I'm like, well, you don't know what my body is going through. You don't feel the leads gripping my fingers or pushing me through moves or dipping me, and my back is hurting. And if I'm going to class the next morning from 10 to 2 or 10 to 5, I don't it's up to me, it's my right, it's not my service. I don't have to be out here dancing with every single person, and it is not your right to like have access to me. Like I need to regulate and I need to like take care of myself and take care of my body. And because this is a serious pursuit for me, I
Mhm.
need to be intentional about taking care of my body and just being very educated about the choices that I make. I'm making an active choice of like how much time do I spend social dancing versus how much time am I going to classes and
Mhm.
continuing education. This is not a party woohoo weekend, which is another thing where I feel I don't know if this is if this is a clear difference between competitive and performer dancers, but also social dancers. But I personally don't drink that much. And so I don't go to a lot of the pre-party hotel parties at festivals because I just choose not to drink, especially around dancing. And so I'm making an active choice where, I want to be comfortable. I want to be I want to feel good while I'm social dancing, but I also want to like have energy and like not be hungover and not feel like a truck hit me the next morning when I'm trying to go to class.
Yeah.
Mm. And
So
so sometimes social dancers, they approach that differently. And a lot of social dancers also, when going to festivals, will just do a party pass and they won't do the full pass.
mhm.
And so I feel like, well, they're here for the socials and the parties and they're good.
I think you said something, the idea that one of the main grams I hear from competitive dancers with social dancers, and you said it right there, is like I have a limited amount of hours. I have to get a good night's sleep. I don't want to hurt. I have my body can only take so much, and it feels like the main gripe from competitive dancers that social dancers feel they have a right to dance with you because you're in the space. Because you're in the space.
That they have a right to dance with you, and that if you don't say yes to every single person that asks you, somehow you're being a bitch or you're being selective or that like you're judging them.
Hmm.
And it's okay, you're judging me for thinking that this is all about you. There are million other factors that could be going into my decision whether or not say yes or no to you.
Hmm.
And it is a consistent balancing act between if you're going to a festival or you're going to a social dance, the factors leading up to social dancing of like, did I get a nap? Have I eaten? And then like, how long am I social dancing? How much can my body take? How much sleep can I get versus like, okay, what classes am I trying to take? What classes am I going to? What is all in that schedule of the 3 days? And you're trying to maximize the amount of time because you've paid a lot of money and you're spending a lot of time out of your schedule going to 3-day events, or if it's like a social on a weekend or whatever, you're as a competitive dancer, you are being intentional and you're trying to actively like progress in your dance journey, and you've selected specific festivals for specific instructors and you're going to learn what you can versus if you're a social dancer, this is a party. This is a 3-day weekend party. And, some of us who may be a little bit older than others don't quite have the same, our bodies are aging and we also are putting an enormous amount of stress on our bodies, and we're doing it at probably a much higher and more consistent rate than social dancers because
Hmm.
we are actively training and we're teaching and we are putting in more hours, so our bodies are taking a lot more and so we have to take care of them. And yeah, so there's definitely that that mindset, I feel that social dancers who might be new to the scene and don't quite understand,
Hmm.
they just assume if I say no, I'm saying no because you're not a good enough dancer, or because I'm being a bitch. And I'm like, no, there are a million other factors that could be factoring into my decision of like, I need a break. I need to
Yeah.
say like, or maybe I just don't want to dance this particular song. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think for both, there's like a lot of reasons why the other party can feel a little bit, like I feel it's anytime you get into a subject where you're asking someone, which is a form of vulnerability, and then you're gonna have to you're gonna have to acquiesce to that request or reject it. There is always going to be a little bit of tension. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, I try my best where if someone asks me and I set good boundaries for myself where if I'm just not wanting to dance, I have no problem saying no, but I try to be like, I need a break, I
mhm.
need some water, I like my feet are hurting. Like I'm not saying I don't want to dance with you. I'm saying I don't want to dance right now.
Mhm, mhm.
And oftentimes it is I don't want to dance with that person. It's
Yeah.
I just don't want to dance right this second.
Mhm.
And I don't dance a lot of salsa. I dance a lot more bachata. but I don't like dance a lot of salsa, and I'll dance like one salsa, I'll come off the dance floor, and then I'll have someone else come up and be like, "Do you wanna dance this one?" I was like, "I just danced a salsa. I need a break." Like,
Mhm.
I don't like doing 2 salsas in a row. It's a lot of energy for me, and depending on upon the shoes I'm wearing or how I'm feeling or, where I am in the night, I'm like, "Mm, I need a break, like, give me a chance to breathe and get some water, and then I'll be good." Um,
Yeah.
so similarly, like, where I don't know where I went off on that tangent, but yeah.
Was that the idea? Like anytime rejection is involved, I think things can be
Yes. Yeah.
a little bit
There
sensitive.
are there are very few instances, there are a few where it's like I physically do not wanna dance with that person, and then normally, after 1 or 2 rejections, I make it if they keep asking me, then I make it very apparent that I'm like, "We are not a good fit." Like, it and it's not always like they're not a good enough dancer, it's that our vibe, our style does not fit.
Mhm.
Like, we do not vibe well together. Like,
But okay, so this is might be a slight tangent, but I think that you asked earlier like if there could there be something done or something to improve the idea that the social dancers and the competitive dancers can get along a little bit more.
mhm,
And I just realized I have a novice team for West Coast Swing, and we're judging it on competitive level, but it's for everybody who wants to dance at that level. You don't have to compete to do it. And one of the things that I realize that I'm teaching as I'm going along is I'm trying to eliminate all the bad habits that I personally find extraordinarily irritating to dance with. And the biggest one that I find a lot more with social dancers than competitive dancers is if someone grips my fingers. If
I
you're a
actually
dancer,
teach in
huh?
my class. That's something I love
Yeah,
to teach in my
if
class. Yeah.
if anybody at whatever level, it doesn't matter if you just began that day or you've been dancing for 30 years and you're a champion better than I will ever hope to be,
Mhm.
I will hate you.
Yeah.
The moment that you grip my fingers, it makes me feel trapped, imprisoned. I feel like there's a noose around my neck and someone's going to start whipping me. Okay, it's a very frightening moment, and I have to I almost always shake the hands off.
I've started doing that where I have a lead, like, grip my fingers, then I just, like I wiggle my hand, or
Yeah,
I'm just like
yeah.
to try to bring
And
awareness to, like, "Hey, you're doing something here."
this happens both with social dancers and competitive dancers. Okay, it
Yeah.
happens less with competitive dancers because gripping actually doesn't help you dance. It actually
Right.
creates tension within the arm. You can't follow the movement. You're not stressed about, and you can't move. You don't have your own body awareness. So it actually doesn't really work. And so they kind of eliminate it. But for social dancing, you're not trying to get through everything. You're just trying to kind of get through the pattern. And when we tend and when we and they grip, it's not because they're doing it on purpose. I've never actually met someone who actually gripped me on purpose because they wanted to control me, except when they were trolling me. Um, okay, so in my classes, that I'm trying to do is if I can get everyone not to grip, then I will enjoy dancing with them a lot more. And there are a couple other things within dancing that I enjoy a lot. That if everyone just has this very basic level, then having a social dance
Yeah,
with those
right.
people is a lot easier.
Mm.
Oh, it's ending in 10 minutes again.
I mean, we've recorded quite a lot, so,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. I think to wrap up, like, kind of the conversation, it'll be interesting to hear people's comments
Hmm.
and the continued conversation from this topic, but, um, I think it's just having consistent conversations between the 2 groups of, like, communication of, like, this is the vibe that I'm getting from this
Hmm.
world, this camp, and then it's like, "Okay, well, we're frustrated with this, and we feel like on this." And, there's only so much you can do, but it's if I was to talk to someone who is a social dancer and they were to share with me, "I feel like you're really snobby," or, "I feel
Ah.
like you're very selective," or
Mhm.
had a lead come up to me and be like, "You don't really like dancing with, you know, inexperienced dancers, I'd be like, well, okay, can you give me a specific example? And then I'd be like, okay, well, let me explain to you the circumstances behind that. And let's have a conversation about this. And then I might be able to share some of my frustrations with him as a social dancer of like, hey, like I would really enjoy dancing with more people, but I find this to be a hurdle where I end up being injured. I end up being pushed through moves. I end up having a really bad time
Hmm.
because of these things, that these habits or these mannerisms or this behavior from this particular social group that um, impedes my my I wouldn't say my ability, but my experience
Mm.
within a social. Um, and so that's my frustration as a competitive or performer dancer, where I come in and people might take this, or they take it really cavalier, like as a social dancer, and I tell them my frustrations. I'm like, you're squeezing my fingers, or you're pushing me through something. And they're like, it's not my, it's like they're, oh, it's not my fault. It's like she's just not good enough, or she's not following the pattern, or she doesn't know the move. And I'm like, maybe that's not the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I don't know the pattern, but maybe also you're not taking this seriously. Like you're not
Mhm.
taking my, me being injured, or that you need to break yourself of this habit of squeezing fingers as seriously. You see this as a social, we're going out to have fun, but you are actively physically engaging with another person, and you're doing these things and you think it's all, you're having all this fun, but you're still affecting someone else. And so if you're not taking the right considerations, or you're not taking this seriously to try to have an enjoyable experience for everybody, then yeah, I'm going to be like, oh, I don't want to dance with you. You're not taking my comfort or my body into consideration when you're interacting with me. You're having your own fun. You're basically dancing by yourself, or you're pushing me through things. And then I'm like, well, you're not actually having a conversation with me. You're not actively engaging with me. You're just here to have fun.
It
And
sounds
I'm like,
like it sounds like your main concern when being selective about dance partners is like, is this going to be a toll upon my body and my experience?
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and I would,
because
yeah.
there are a lot of people, there's a lot of aggressive heavy dancers. And
What
um,
percentage would you say would be if you were giving a rough ballpark?
if I'm going to a regular social,
Hmm.
general social, um I feel like it's more than 50%,
Hmm.
more than 50%, probably 60%. If I'm being super open, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I will dance with anyone. I'm being super open, then it's probably around 60% of the dances. Within about 5 seconds of dancing with that person, I can tell if, like, oh, this is gonna be really rough. You better hang on. Like, you
Uh,
need to engage your core and just get through this. Or if I'm being super selective and I'm like, I don't have the energy to do this tonight, and I'm gonna set good boundaries, and I'm gonna like respect my body and take my time, and then I'll the percentage goes way down.
yeah.
um yeah, so I think as a competitive performer dancer, the biggest complaint with social dancers is that they don't have the fundamental understanding of certain concepts that create a safe dance environment where I'm open to dancing with all levels of dancers, because they have that basic understanding of like, this is not going to hurt me.
Hmm.
This is going to potentially injure me. I'm going to, I can have a reasonably enjoyable dance with every single person, because they're not going to squeeze my fingers, or they're not going to push me through moves.
Hmm.
I've not been in a scene like that where basic level understanding, body awareness is taught from the ground up.
Ah, well, to get that class, come to Zothamer's class, Novice level team, West Coast Swing, starting in January. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
gotta
or
get
what?
the plug
What's your
in.
plug? What's your plug? Because we have about
At
2 minutes.
Gulfport Casino, 7 p.m. in Florida, 7 p.m. every Thursday. Gulfport Casino, we teach a intro level salsa bachata class, and then we do an hour of social afterward.
All right. I swear I will get better at this marketing as the time goes by. Okay, well, I think that it was a fun discussion.
Yeah,
Um, I am also very curious about what people have to say
yeah, for
about that,
sure.
particularly the social dancers.
Mhm.
All right, and yeah, thank you, Ellen Gates, for being here.
Yay!
Any last thing you want to say?
No, just I'm really excited to have these different conversations and see the growing conversation and comments from the dance community about these things.
All
So
right, perfect. Okay, this is Zothamer, and you welcome to 7-8. Have a good night, everybody.
go for it.
Okay, I just got a message saying like your meeting's going to end in 10 minutes.
Oh,
Um,
because you only have a 40-minute limit. Do you
yeah,
stop the
yeah,
meeting and restart it? Okay. So stop the
yes.
recording. You'll just stitch this together and you'll cut out the
Wait, if I
yeah.
stop the recording, does it still record? Does it still save it?
Yeah. So stop the recording
Okay.
and it will say, it's gonna like convert